Thank you for joining me on my masterclass. Now, today we're going to be talking about 7 traits that will attract wealth to you. Now, that's 7 traits that will attract wealth to you. Now, I've used them in my personal life, and it's not just me. Several people have used them. These are universal principles. They work irrespective of your race, your age, your gender. If anybody applies them, then they will work. So you've got to work them for them to work in your life. Now, what's the very first one? The very first one is this: be passion driven, not money driven. Be passion driven. A lot of people make this mistake of being money driven. And when you're money driven, what happens is that a lot of people, they realize that, they see that. People are very, very perceptive. When you're money driven, they notice that and then they run from you. But when you are passion driven, people see that, and then your passion always attracts people because passion is what God created you to do on earth. I'll give you a good example. Look at that, yeah, young man, Davido. Davido was born into money, was born into wealth. But you guys didn't know him. I didn't know him. Nobody knew him, even though he was wealthy. If you look at his naming ceremony, I believe Aliko Dangote and a bunch of other people who are billionaires in dollars were there. But it didn't make a difference to him being fulfilled, to him, nobody knew him. It was until he followed his passion. And what was his passion, or what is his passion? Music. He followed his passion, and through his passion, the whole world knew him. And even though he was already wealthy, he became more and more wealthy. So it doesn't matter, whether you're wealthy or you're poor. If you follow passion, money and wealth and success, fame, everything will follow you. Now, the next trait is this: secrecy. Now, secrecy is the active ingredient in a lot of success. Secrecy. You see, I'll give you another example. Let's talk about Coca Cola. Now, Coca Cola, they make Coke. Now, the reason why they're still in business and their greatest asset is not their plants all around the world. Coca-Cola has plants in almost every country on earth. If you're watching this in your country, they probably have a plant, But that's not their greatest asset. Their greatest asset is their secrecy. Now, nobody knows how to make Coca-Cola. Nobody knows how to make Coke. And that's what's been keeping them in business because, we are living in a world that is largely capitalistic. Now, if in a capitalistic society, what happens is that there's competition. Now, if your rival knows how you do things, he's going to try to do it better than you. And so you have to maintain secrecy. You have to maintain secrecy so that your competitors will not steal your business secrets and then duplicate them and make them better than you. So that's one of the things. And it's not just for business, also in your life. A lot of times you reveal things to people, and then those things that you reveal to people are what people use to destroy you. So that's why I say to people, when you go into a new environment, what you want to do, and it's very important, I say this to all people, is that you want to be polite. And then when you're polite, it's not like you're being a snob. You're polite. Don't be immediately friendly. Just be polite. What you're doing is that you are, because you don't know the people in that new environment. So not everybody in that new environment is going to be worthy of your friendship. Some will be, but most will not be. But at the beginning, you don't know who is who. So if you just start out becoming friendly, you're going to make friends with people who are not deserving of your friendship. And you're going to reveal things to them. And those people are going to use those things to betray you, especially in environments like a work environment where there's a lot of rivalry and competition. Now, the next trait is this: stay within your circle of competence. Stay within your circle of competence. Now, what does that mean? Everybody has a circle of competence. There are things that God created you to do. If you don't believe in God, that's okay. You can just say that there are things that you know how to do better than most people. You just find out that there are some things that you know how to do better than most people. Now, that's your circle of competence. Now, if you read the book of Daniel, if you start from chapter 6 and then read from the first 6 verses, you begin to see that's what Daniel used in Babylon to get promoted. As a matter of fact, the word president actually comes from Daniel chapter 6. And then, it's now being used by America and a number of other nations. That word was actually, gotten from Daniel chapter 6. And so I tell people that, the thing is, when you are competent in a particular area, You want to stay within your area of competence, and then you can build other competencies gradually, and then you expand your area of competence. But don't just move out of your area of competence because of greed or because you see there's money there. What's going to happen is that you will damage the reputation that you have made in your circle of competence, because it can take 10 years to build a good professional reputation, and it can take one day to destroy it. So competence will take you, character will take you, connections will take you where good looks, good money, and good books and good talks cannot take you. Now, the next thing is this: emotional stability. Emotional stability is key to your success in business and in life. You see, if you follow your mood as a person, if you follow your mood, you're going to be very unstable. And when you're unstable, money and people run away from you. So you have to control your emotions. Don't let your emotions control you. Now, doing so, when you control your emotions, will keep money and power in motion towards you. When you do that, you see, I'm going to explain something now. You see, let's do this. You see, when you're angry, and then you just you don't control the anger, you just go out and then you allow the anger control you, and then you just ba 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 ba, ba, you blab, you get very excited, you're provoked. When you go back home, what happens is that you begin to think about what you said, and then you're happy with some of the things you said, yes, but then you're very, very sad with some of the other things that you said, because it was anger, there was no control, so it was all just coming out. And so you are not happy with yourself. Now, also think about the people. You have to think about the people that were listening to you. Now, those people that were listening to you also, yes, they're going to find some of the things that you said right. But because of the anger and because of the way you were saying some things, you're going to be rude, you're going to be crass. And then other people too, that there'll be a lot of things that they did not like about what you said in anger. So at the end of the day, it's a lose-lose situation. You're not happy with yourself, other people are not happy with you. But do you know you can be angry and then composed and say everything you need to say in a composed manner? You're going to gain respect from the people listening. You're going to be happy with yourself. So that's a win-win situation. So you want to control yourself. You want to have emotional stability. And when people see this emotional stability, that's another name for maturity. Then they begin to promote you. If you're in business, then they begin to patronize you. And then you begin to grow. You begin to become more and more wealthy. Now, another thing there is that you have to read. You got to be a great reader, a voracious reader. You see, imagine a river. Now, on one side of the river is the troubled land. Let's say the troubled land is here. And then on the other side of the river is the promised land. Let's say the promised land is here. Now, reading is the bridge that will get you from the troubled land to the promised land. So if you read scripture, you see in Joshua chapter 1 verse 8, that's why I use the promised land analogy. When Joshua was about to go into the promised land, what did God tell him? He says that you should read the book of the law. And if you read it, you will have good success. So you have to understand that, you see, and I've said this to people before, and I'm going to say it again. You see, when you read, you're going to lead. When you learn, you're going to earn. When you know, you're going to grow. When you assimilate, you're going to accumulate. And when you apply, you're going to have a supply. So another name for wealth is provision. And so God usually, and I've read scripture in English, in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, and I study scripture. Every day I'm reading scripture. I'm always studying scripture. I've noticed a pattern. I may be wrong. When I go to heaven, God will tell me, okay, you are wrong. It wasn't really like that. But from the pattern I've seen in scripture is that God will usually give provision to people with vision. So if you don't have vision, how are you going to get provision? That's why you need to read, and read some more. Now, the next one is this. Allocation of your time and your capital is your main job in life. And when you allocate your time and your capital, then your allocated time and your capital will attract wealth to you in geometric proportions. So now, how do you allocate your time? You allocate your time by scheduling your time. I teach this to my son. My son is in a game jam. He's a coder. He's just 14 years old, and he's coding. And then so sometimes he meets his deadline. Sometimes he doesn't meet his deadline. And I've taught him. I said, look, block out time for the future by scheduling your time. And when you do that, you'll always be able to meet your deadline. So how do you allocate your capital? You allocate your capital by budgeting, by having a budget. So when you have a budget, so you're telling your money where you want your money to go. Most people, they don't tell their money where they want their money to go. Their money just comes and then they spend it, and at the end of the month, they don't know where the money has gone. They're confused. Why am I broke? Why am I broke? So you have to do that. You have to allocate your time through scheduling, and you have to allocate your money through budgeting. Otherwise, you're never going to be wealthy. You're just going to be dissipating all your energies. You're dissipating all your energies, and it's very important. Now, the next trait is this. Most people, they want to study success. They want to study success. That's a big mistake. Don't just study success. You see, more people fail than succeed. More people fail than succeed. So if you only study success, you're going to be in trouble. So you also want to study failure. You want to study failure because as a wise person, when you study failure, you will know how not to fail. Now, because if you don't study failure, one day failure will come, knock at your door, and you're going to open the door, and you're not going to recognize failure. And because you don't recognize failure, you're going to let it in, and then you will fail. So you want to study failure so that you will know how not to fail. It's very important because if 85% of people are going to fail or are not going to reach the target, and only 15% do, if you study only the 15%, then you're making a big mistake because 85%. That means you have an 85% chance. So you need to study why those people fail. You understand that? Now, the final thing we're going to learn today is this. Extend conditional love to your work and your business, but give unconditional love to your family. So you extend conditional love to your job, to your business, to your vocation, whatever, but then you give unconditional love to your family. For instance, I'll tell you this. Wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, if my children call me, I always pick up the phone. I will cut off from a president. I will cut off from, like a billionaire and talk to my children. So it's very important to me because if you don't apply this rule, you may end up as a public success and a private failure. And your successor, may end up hating you. And you don't want that. Because if your successor hates you, you are automatically a failure. You're automatically a failure. So now I've given you these 7 traits. It's quite a stretch. And if you have questions arising from them, you can put them in the comment section and I'll do my best. My staff will create the comments, they'll bring it to me, and then I'll respond to them. And then also you got to remember, I do not have a WhatsApp forum, a Telegram channel, or a Gmail email address. You got to understand that scammers have seen that my videos tend to go viral, and then they create fake profiles with my photo, and then they approach people in the comment section saying guideline, helpline, I will mentor you, more info. They're scammers. They've scammed a lot of people and made them suicidal. Don't fall for that. My name is Ronald Mokri. Thank you for watching and God bless you.